Let's see those juice boxes, y'all. Get rid of that, please. If you were on the show, go ahead and hit that plus sign. See those juice boxes, y'all? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Red Room Talk. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Jen. The Red Room Talk is a show about love, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships, including self, to erase different social stigmas. We're here to have candid discussions and cut through those stigmas to show that in the end, no matter your background, we all have commonalities when it comes to matters of the mind and the heart. Nothing is off the table in the Red Room Talk. Last episode, if you missed us, that's okay. You can find us on YouTube by clicking the link in my profile and subscribing. Last episode, we talked about overcoming obstacles, but overcoming them obstacles, we decided that this week we're going to discuss mental health. Tonight in the Red Room, we have an all-star cast. We have my beautiful co-host, Queen Essence. We have Mel Bell. And we have Preach Positivity bonus. Let's find out how the panel feels about mental health. Before we get started, all that I ask is you keep your mind open and your language clean. First things first, I'm going to let the folks in the box so they can introduce themselves, and then we will get started. Go ahead and jump in the box for me, please.
Hey, Preach. Hey, Miss Lavers, looking all good. Jen!
Hi!
Hey, man.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome.
So sorry I'm
late. She just felt like running. We are polite here in the Red Room, y'all, so we do let the ladies introduce themselves first. So go ahead, Mel Bell, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you got going on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Mel Bell. I'm so sorry I'm late. Usually try to be here earlier. speaking of mental, on our topic today, we'll get to that. Had to tend to some things for myself and realizing we contribute to others as well. So that's why I'm a little bit late. But I stream another platform, but we come here to support John here and some other really cool peeps that I get to be on the show with tonight.
Awesome, awesome.
Back another week. Queen Essence here every Saturday that I can, and I thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty positive. Just here to do exactly that. Spread positivity best way that I can. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Well, that just leaves me, huh? Well, hello, everybody. I am Jen and Juice. I am the host of the show right here, right now. You guys can find me every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you also can find me coming back tomorrow for Soul Food Sunday with that number one bubble. That's Wancho Number. It'll be in his live this week. We cook and we have discussions, much like we have here on the Red Room Talk, but maybe a little more in depth with relationships and such. So make sure y'all tap in. We have taken a long break, so we'll be back tomorrow, y'all. Cooking up something, a good conversation and some good food. So make sure y'all tap in. And then on Tuesday, also with Wancho Number in his live, we do a show where we review the newest snacks and drinks. It's called Wancho Snacks and Juice. So make sure y'all tap in. That is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So make sure y'all tap in for that, y'all. Other than that, I stream in the morning, so y'all could just catch me in the morning when you wake up. So y'all, let's go ahead and get started. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorders or disabilities. Peak mental health is about not only avoiding active conditions, but also looking after ongoing wellness and happiness. Preserving and restoring mental health is crucial on an individual basis as well as throughout different communities and societies. So what I want to know is,
What comes to mind when you hear the phrase mental health? Nobel.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know if I was going first. What comes to mind is ultimately, we all talk about striving for like what our physical looks like. I think when I think of mental health, like how we feel within, it's kind of like our inner fitness, if that makes sense, and just how we feel grounded. So, like, I think like as I've gotten older, mental health for me just means like how do I feel mentally grounded and emotionally grounded.
When I think about mental health, I immediately think about my relationship with the Lord. Spending time with Him daily, remembering that I can't do a lot of things, nothing by myself. So that's literally the first thing that I think of is my relationship with the Lord.
When I hear the words mental health, I think of inner stability. A lot of us may give off an aura or a vibe that everything is, okay, or we're handling life and taking it by the reins and just steering that sleigh where it needs to go. But it's really the understanding of what is going on, the acceptance of how hard or how easy it's going to be, and the strength or the awareness of how much strength you have to deal with these things um, with some sort of a complacency or I like to call it a decimal point, right? In ways that if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. If if your inner stability is off, then a lot of things will not be clear for you. So, mental health for me is the internal ability to accept what cards are dealt and play the best hand.
Okay, so for me, the term mental health, I think it's often misunderstood. Like people mistake mental health. It doesn't mean mental illness or that you're mentally ill. Your mental health, and much like Mel Bell said, is how good you feel emotionally. Just like you take care of your body, you also have to take care of your mind and your emotions. So it's how much you really take care of your inside as much as you do your outside. Do you do the things that make you feel good? Are you taking care of, taking breaks when you need to take them? That's what I think of when I think of mental health, is your overall well-being is meant in your mind. But that's what I think of.
Love all of those.
Yes, yes. Do you have anything else to say? No? Okay. Well, if you're just pulling up, you're just a little bit late. That's okay. That's okay. We have so much more to come, y'all. You guys can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Red Room Talk, y'all. We just discussed what comes to your mind when you hear the words mental health, but now I want to talk about what's more important. In the U.S. and much of the developed world, mental disorders are one of the leading causes of disability. Social and financial circumstances, biological factors, and lifestyle choices can all shape a person's mental health. A large proportion of people with a mental health disorder have more than one condition at a time. This is pretty alarming in itself. So what I want to know
Is mental health more or less important than physical health?
Uh, I think that has changed for me, if I'm being honest, over time. I think when we're young, I still feel realistically that they both play a part in part. Being a woman, being a person, being a mother, and just even absorbing different perspectives, I feel like they support one another in the sense of like if you're physically feeling great, it will be like mentally kind of like in a good place. But I think as I've gotten older, there's only so much that can take you along. And so, like, again, depending on what those things look like, what the support for your mental health look like for me, being strength, like spiritually grounded as a mom, taking care of myself, meditation, I've realized like all that physical attribution to it. Does it help? Absolutely. But it only holds it together for so long. So I think for me right now, for sure, my mental check-in has been of more importance in being more assertive about like what that looks like for myself to support me wanting to even be motivated to keep up the physical, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
It does. I think mental health is more important because if your mental health is down, usually it wears at your body as well. Like if you're not in the best shape or if you're not taking care of your body, you can still be in great mental health form. But your mental could literally deteriorate your body as well. So the fact that it has an impact on both your emotional and mental state, and it can destroy your body too, I would say. It's like a 60-40. 60-40. Because if you did have your physical or if you were working out and things like that, it can also help your mental too. So it's a 60-40 mental win.
I think that 100% one cannot exist without the other. I think that, as Preach said, your physical could be outstanding, as far as the way that it looks, the way that you take your vitamins, or, your cholesterol is good, your blood pressure is great. But I do think, and there are even tests that have been run on a brain that is in a depressive state versus how much more functionality we have when we have a healthy mindset, right? Um, so even though things may look good, stress is actually known to become physical if it goes uncared for, right? This can result in acne. This can result in a loss of appetite, which can fluctuate your weight. Um, and it can also affect your social life, right? And then it becomes physical in a different way, where it is not painful per se. You know, you're not being burned, you're not being hit, you are not being pinched, but you're also not being moved, you know? And in order to go out and be able to take care of the physical, your mental does have to be, um I would say, at 70% or better, you know, because once you get down to 50%, that's an internal battle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they go, one cannot exist without the other. Absolutely.
I trade my answer for Queens.
So while many people may consider physical health to be the foundation of a productive life, if you examine the chemical effects of the mind on the body, it is clear that mental health is actually the driver of your physical health. Consider the following. Thoughts are the mental link to the environment that allows you to assess your situation, second by second, in order to make choices that allow you to survive and thrive. If our thoughts are pleasant, our bodies will secrete chemicals such as oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine that create a sense of relaxation and well being. Conversely, if you feel stressed, when your thoughts will create a chemical environment consisting of adrenaline, cortisol, histamines, and other hormones that create a sense of insecurity and dread. You will be motivated to control the situation to alleviate these feelings of anxiety. Since you cannot escape or unsolve pleasant thoughts, rational or irrational, then your body will be exposed to higher levels of these chemicals than needed. It's like driving your car 70 miles per hour down the freeway in second or third gear. It will break down much sooner than if you were in fifth gear and cruising. And I said that to say stress is one of the number one killers. If you really think it can weigh on your body, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're all these things that are driven by your mind, it causes a physical reaction. So really, you cannot have one without the other. It has to be that balance of both. So you'll have to make sure you check it out on YouTube, Antonio. Click that link in my profile. Um, but without mental health, your physical health is soon to follow. And I could tell you, even for myself, when I know that I wasn't doing good mentally, my body didn't feel good either. I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating right, because when your mind isn't right, everything follows behind. So I definitely think that they kind of go hand in hand, and you have to have a healthy balance of both.
Yeah, I agree.
So, does anybody have anything else to come? I don't know what just happened.
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to let you finish. I feel like um, I mean, I think the reality of it is that they've always coexisted. They've always been of importance, but I think it becomes an evolvement, just like our age and maturity. Because when we're younger, just like most kids, we tend to prioritize one over the other. There might be a time in our life, in our age, like being a mom of a teenager, that the physical contributes more to the emotional. And then as we get older, we realize we really can't even get anywhere physical and then I think it kind of turns for us, at least for myself, and just an observation, that then our mental, spiritual, that part is kind of the bigger muscle as we get older, because we're in a different evolvement of ourselves. Um, because I think, if I'm being honest, speaking for myself, I've only been motivated to do something as simple as like getting up and tending to myself if I feel like spiritually, mentally grounded, to motivate, and being big on words. I think, that alone has taken me some time to not necessarily learn, but be reminded and be insightful on it and conscious of it, of like our words are so powerful that alone, the way that we speak to ourselves, will pull us, physically to what we need to and want to do.
I agree. It's also powerful the fact that there isn't a lot of mental health coaching. You know what I'm saying? Like the physical aspect of life, you get that a lot. You have PE in school, you know what I'm saying? People are working out. There's all these things to make sure that your body looks good for your presentation of others. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times it's not even for self, it's just so you can look good for other people. But mental health, you don't really get a chance to, there's no dedicated focus on it. It's not talked about often, and it's a huge lack. And that's crazy because of how much it's important. Just like y'all just said, it goes 100 100. We need both of them effectively, but only one is really like, and it's only talked about when it's trying to be developed. You know what I'm saying? At a down state, trying to get it back up. Like, when do we transition from surviving to thriving? You know what I'm saying? But y'all are right though.
For sure.
I think that you guys both hit it
Say again.
really accurately. I think that the way that we deal with mental health does have a lot to do with how we were introduced to the lack of it, right?
Mm.
A lot of us were not taught how to have complicated conversations, let alone taught how to deal with the era in which we live in now. We were raised in a different time, you know. Also, a lot of us were raised in a what happens in my house stays in my house, and that right there is one of the biggest downfalls of our community. And I don't think people pay a lot of attention to that, right? Keeping those traumas, keeping that discomfort, keeping that unhealed lack of love, that those missing elements to what make us happy, having a lack of them growing up, and then having to try to navigate through a life and a world that is not so welcoming to the people, or not aware, or have that lack of care for people who don't have that, you know. And that's how we talk about on this show all the time, how you have to sort of think for other people, and you have to allow this, you know, unprecedented grace for another person, because the loving family that you came from, or the lack of loving family that you came from, the person who you are drop dead interested in may be the complete opposite. They may have no acknowledgement or no knowledge of how to love themselves, let alone how to give that love to another person. You know, so when we get out, you know, into the street, and we live in a very overly critically opinionated nation where, oh my God, that person is crazy. Everybody will pull out their phone and watch somebody have a mental breakdown, but very few people will walk up on that person and say, hey, are you okay? You know, can I sit with you for a minute? Can I pray for you?
Come on.
You know,
that part.
we do not have that, you know, and the people who do possess these powers, who do possess that empathy, they're surrounded by naysayers, you know. And if you don't have that 100%, that 80%, or even that 60% confidence in yourself, where are you going to pull that from to give to somebody else?
So true.
You know, so I the lack of mental health awareness that we had coming up, I do believe it plays a big part in the kind of individuals that are out in the street, people who could be running our world 2, 3, 4 decades from now.
So true.
But
Definitely hold that thought. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But y'all, you know what time it is? Do you? Yes, sir! When you hear that sounds, that means we are a hot seat question segment, y'all. Our hot seat question is left up to the fate of the audience. That's right. I went to Instagram to ask our peers what they wanted to ask for this week's hot seat question. If you want your question to be featured on next week's episode, make sure you go to my profile, click that icon, and follow me on Instagram, y'all, and look out for that hot seat question post. Now is the time to enter in the comments who on the panel you want to answer tonight's question before I reveal it. Go ahead and enter in the comments now who you want to answer tonight's question. Don't be cheating, preacher. I already see you got it typed out. I already see you cheating over there. Yes. Oh, we got Mel Bell. We got 2 from Mel Bell. We got to preach. We got 2. We got 2 on 2. We got 2 and 2. I mean, listen, y'all.
No.
I need y'all to wake up, because we need a clear and present answer. Who on the panel y'all want to answer tonight's question? Even if you don't know who they are, answer. We need y'all to answer who you want to answer tonight's hot. Oh, look at that bonus. Thank you for the faith, y'all. We got another preach. Ooh, we got 3 for preach. We got a
We
queen
have
in
2
there.
Preach
We got
one.
another preach. We got our preach.
Bruh.
We got our preach. Well, y'all, it looks like we got a preach.
I want to throw preach under there only because I love nothing more than breaking a stigma and going back to what Queen was just saying. So keep this in mind, audience. Breaking the stigma that men are not aware of their mental health, I love nothing more, like for me, just hearing like their concept. So that it's an all world thing, it's not genderized and all that stuff. So I'm
A
gonna
lot
throw
of
you
men.
under there, preacher. I'm just gonna throw you under there.
It's a lot of men, man. A lot of men, because there's a lot of men who do have, what I'm saying, that understanding of and are fighting for the understanding. But go ahead with the question.
So, I actually lied. This week, I did not go to the audience, okay? I actually got this question right out of Preachers Live. So it was meant for you. The Lord said...
The
The Lord said this week is going to be preached. So I took this right out of your live. And you're going to know right in a moment why I say that.
Okay.
So this week's thing is I want you to, it's not even a question as much as I want you to share a personal mantra or affirmation that helps you stay positive during challenging times. Yep, I did that just for you.
Bet. So I wrote a line in 2017 and I say, live your best today for your tomorrow so you don't have to live another yesterday. That helps in so many different ways because it helps with the anxiety, which is usually overwhelming thought of your future, and depression, which is overwhelming thought of your past. If you focus on your right now, what can I do right now in my today to improve so I don't have to reenact what was done in the past? And it also sets up what's going to happen in the future. And this is my TED Talk.
That was beautiful. Lord, it was beautiful. But he actually, I'm just going to have to tell y'all, he was sitting in his live and he was having us to speak an affirmation. And so I was like, you know what? I actually had a question there and I deleted it. And I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to add a little positivity in here because I know this is a very tough topic for a lot of people to hear. But while I'm saying that, kind of leads me to this. You guys, I did list all the 1-800 numbers, y'all, the suicide prevention hotlines. I did go list them on Instagram, and the last, it's like 3 posts. If you go back 3 posts, you can find those numbers if you guys need that. I did kind of cover all my bases, and I listed, I'm going to go ahead and go through them right now real quick. I'm not going to obviously say the numbers because I can't really do that on a featured show. But I did list the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the text number for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Veterans Crisis Line, and the LGBTQ Suicide Prevention Hotline. I did cover all my bases for anyone who needs help. And if you guys ever need anyone to talk to, y'all, my inbox is always open. So make sure you guys, if you need those, you please utilize those numbers or that text. But yeah, I just wanted to say that before I moved on.
Just for clarification, they are inboxing you for the help lines.
Yes.
Not for help.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. I am not a certified professional. But if you did need someone to talk to, I always have a listening ear. I'm not a mental health professional, but I have a good listening ear. But we will go ahead and move on, y'all. In the United States, the National Alliance on Mental Illness estimates that 1 in 5 adults experience mental health problems each year. In 2017, an estimated 11.2 million adults in the U.S., or about 4.5% of adults, had a severe psychological condition. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, during the pandemic, I and most of you, I'm sure, personally felt or seen a rise in mental health issues. So with that being said,
do you think society increases the likelihood of mental health problems?
I think that if you are not what keeps you spiritually and mentally grounded, depending on where you are in your life and what's going on, that it can absolutely take over like anything. And I say that because I feel like if you're just not in the right state of mind or something has happened, that's a very open-ended um, reaction, because it could be, I mean, some people are like, when they're at their hype, when something great's happen, they feel like they can overtake anything. But on the same note, we fail to recognize that a lot of bad things, like, and I mean, I don't know if I want to say bad things, but things that really are not best serving to us, we also tend to overlook because we're in that hype. And so I think for me personally, that's a very open ended place that we tend to overlook things, and we learn later, um, because, and then and if I will only speak for myself. I've been at a really high place, and depending on who you're asking and sharing that with, some person might not feel grounded within themselves and share a response to you, and depending on who that is, they can shatter everything, and then you're like now like a domino effect. So I do feel like it contributes to it, but it also depends on where we are, like within ourselves.
That was so fantastically said. I agree 1,001%. And I would say no then to the question, because it's what your focus is. If you're not focusing on what's happening in society, then what's the impact? You know what I'm saying? Having the awareness is necessary, but your focus though. So all these things go on, but like when the pandemic actually happened, the fear of potentially getting it was taking people out, and then they actually got it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, well, where's my focus at? Because right now my health is well, and what can I do to make sure that there's a preventative? Where's my focus at in the sense of making sure that I have an ability to overcome? So I feel like it doesn't have to have an effect if I'm not focused on it.
And before, and I know we're all responding, but just really quickly, because I am reading the comments and I'm reading Sir's thing, and I think also being conscious, and maybe it's a little playing the devil's advocate, but I think if I try not to look at that someone like a true friend, because you have to look at it like as I'm healing and we're all healing because we're all in the perspective of it. Our response is different. So I've learned to learn like compassion enough that someone might not be in within two things. They might not be within their emotional stability, or they don't know any better, and so they're only reacting from the card that they have available to themselves, or the capacity that they're able to offer a response, and it's not always kind, right? Or like we don't always agree. There's such a stigma, like when people don't even agree with us, we're so quick to label them that they're right or wrong, or they don't care for us, when maybe that's all they have within their reach. And that's only something that I've been learning and having more compassion to process, on where it's okay to believe that and give that person, like, you get a freebie, so to speak, or being like, this is who you consistently are as a person.
I love that. Something to help with that is like a little acronym. I apologize, Queen, but KYP, know your personnel. You know what I'm saying? You got to know who you have around you. Very important. Go ahead, Queen. I apologize.
How about you?
I think that society can increase the potential for mental health issues. I also think that um, someone said in the comments during the pandemic, a lot of people gained anxiety. No, I think that during the pandemic, people were confronted with anxiety. A lot of us have been battling demons that we were so unaware that we had, because we were always told that life is hard and life is unfair. When you got stuck in the house with your thoughts, and some of us got stuck in the house with very narcissistic, un, unwelcoming souls, and we got to see that we were not okay, and then that's how this thing where that 11.2 million number became something of concern, because now that we're not robots and we have to sit at home and get to know ourselves, we get to see who we really are. We get to see what we really don't have, powers we really don't possess. A lot of us can get into what I like to call machine mode, and we're just running. We so used to just running and not processing things as they happen, because we got to go to work. The kids got to eat. My mama need her medicine. I got to pay my bills. We got to, all these things that we have to do because society needs us or society needs to keep going, when we had to sit back and society couldn't handle us just doing the very thing that the earth was put here to do, and that is to explore it, we had to figure out something else, you know? And it got to show you how mentally strong you were or were not. So does society play a part? Absolutely. As I said earlier, a person who comes from a home where they weren't supported, if they go out into this world, they're in for a culture shock. Because not only do you feel that lack of love at home, the streets don't love you either. Now we're in an era of advocate for yourself, right? What works for me? What are my boundaries? What are the limits? Where do I stop and say, F this, I can't, right? Because man or woman, you're taught that can't is a weak word. Can't is a powerful word. Can't lets you know, and the people around you know, that yes, I look strong, but I got weaknesses too. If you cut me, I'm going to bleed too. Heat burns me too. Betrayal hurts me too. Now I got to get up and go to work tomorrow. But when I'm off for 3 days, because Monday is a holiday, and I done lost both my parents, I become weak. You know? So does society play a role? Absolutely. Does it increase the likelihood of mental breakdowns? Absolutely. People are evil. It is very hard to come across genuine people who give a damn about another person, who understand that it takes a community not only to raise a child, but to continue becoming adults. Because to say that it takes a village to raise a child and not understand that a grown woman could be in labor on a train and she will need those people on that train to help her deliver that baby. To understand that if an old person is crossing the street and there's other people in that crosswalk with that person, if that old lady falls, she's going to probably need more than one person to pick her up. You don't know how much you depend on the other people walking this planet until they're all you have.
To kind of play off what she just said, I think about this job that I was working, right? I put this job before my mental and physical health so much, right? And this is like obviously society. You're out in society. Your job is how you live, how you eat, how you survive, everything. So, I put it before everything. I went through deaths, I missed funerals from this job, and I really sat and thought about. And I remember the time when I was like, no more. Will I ever do this with another job? Will it ever come before me? Will it ever come before Will it ever come before my mental health? Will it ever come before my physical health? Never. And then I think about other things like social media. The thing that was meant to bring us together, much like this app, has also divided us. You think about those pages that are out there canceling people and those type things like that really. And even this post I seen earlier, this one woman, her probably one of her worst moments in life was to put out there for everyone, right? And then you got to think you're really laughing at this woman's down moment, and you think dang, this is what we've become as a society, and wonder why people unalive themselves, and why there are things like the movement, the semicolon movement, why there are things like that in place, because so many people are just not nice people. Earlier someone said that there could be something going on, the horrible, and we will pick up our phones before we actually help someone. We'll pick up our phones and record wrongdoings before we actually get up and help someone. Those type things I really think about in society, and even more than just society, you think about at home. It starts when kids are young, when a little boy falls and scrapes his knee and they said, stop crying, you're a big boy. It's not just a societal problem. It is an at-home problem too. It starts at home. How you cope and how you learn these coping mechanisms starts at home. So not only are people dealing with day-to-day life at home, but then to go out into society, that's why even in relationships people talk about, I don't want to have to come home and fight round two when I've already had to fight the world. That's why it's so important not only to have good friends and a good support system, to have a good partner, to make sure that you're emotionally sound. Like, yes, it's self-esteem, it's esteem, I get it, but you do need people, you do need a support system that is going to be there for you mentally, to help you mentally. It is very important, because even though, yes, social media has you believe it's a me society, but it is important to have a great support system around you. Anybody have any more thoughts on that?
I'm just like looking at the comments and I'm listening and I'm processing, and a lot of things are like being like activated, and I just feel like, going back to like really quickly, like the empathy thing. There's so many things that people mix up with empathy versus sympathy, and also being like compassionate enough to give ourselves our grace. Like, I'm going to be honest for myself, and maybe you guys decide if you want to be honest for yourself. You can hear someone's story that, there's a saying that says, when you hear your story and how someone else reacts to it, it says so much. Like, that's not right. That's not, you know what I'm saying? And I think like when we're listening to our people in our tribe, we can process things of like, no, you shouldn't go through that. You shouldn't do that. But we're so quick to lose that compassion card all around. And so I think it goes back to not necessarily so much being empathetic and sympathetic, because the reality is that we all subconsciously at one moment become selfish, and that whole thing goes out the window. Because if it's not for our betterment, and again, going back to us not being stable, whether it's like a big life event, my parents sick, my marriage is going, I'm having a horrible mom week, or work, just a million things, depending on what the situation is, we're so quick to be like, that's nothing. Or we do the one upper, and going back to that empathy versus sympathy, really being conscious of it. And I think for everyone that looks, and it has to be different. When you say I want to put up with it, it's more like, do I have the compassion to process? Maybe I don't have, or like what Queen was saying, going back on the, like, I can say, I don't know what I'm doing. Today something in the process for me was like, Mel, I look at you like a mom, and I'm like, let me just tell you that when I'm sharing, I appreciate that, but when I'm sharing it to you, I don't know. I am only giving it to you for that perspective, and now being more conscious of when I'm sharing anything, of being like, this is what works for me, or this is my opinion, and really being very about my mindfulness, as opposed to speaking to somebody, because words are everything. And the way you say something to somebody, if they're not in the right place, for whatever reason, that gets processed a million different ways, just anything. So I just wanted to, because I'm like reading the comments, and like, again, and being mindful that, like, again, coming from our childhood, that you have those engraved, and you can make the choice as we get older for different things on where we want to break the cycle, and that can look really rough. And being around people that don't necessarily just have your back, because having your back to some people, I've realized, even for myself, looks a lot different than someone being like, you are not in the right now, we need to check yourself. And that is also part of it. Like, that's also part of the work.
So true.
To piggyback what on you said, because I've read the comments and they can be a little bit triggering. This is the society that affects the people that are having mental health issues.
Thank you.
These individuals are what I'm saying. They help that negativity, that black matter, they help it grow. These are the individuals that are walking this earth, that are pulling out their phones, that are quick to respond just to have something to say, and not are listening to comprehend what is being said.
And can I just interject real quick before we move on to the next question? Please do not think that I am ignoring any of you guys' comments. I cannot read every comment. I try to pick out the ones, like I scan through them, but I cannot read every comment. And I know we're talking about mental health. I do not want any of you to feel ignored. If you do have a great burning question, please stay after the show. We do still discuss after the show is over. So do not feel like I'm ignoring you. Do not feel like you're left out. please, if you have a burning question, please stay after the show. We allow people to box up and such. So please do not feel that you're being ignored, okay? I don't want anyone to feel that way. It is just very hard during a featured show to focus on the conversation and also to focus on the comments for me. So please do not feel any type of way. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I try, if I see one, I kind of will pick it out the comments, but I don't want anyone to feel ignored, especially with this kind of conversation, okay?
You know,
Go
write
ahead.
your questions down so you can ask them afterwards.
Yes, yes. If you guys are just pulling up, you're late.
You're like,
But that's okay, y'all. You guys can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Red Room Talk. If you have not missed it all, we still have a little bit more to discuss. We just discussed what comes to mind when you hear the words mental health. Then we discussed whether mental health is more or less important than physical health. Then we also talked about if you think society increases the likelihood of mental health problems. But I want to see what you do for yourself. Good mental health depends on a delicate balance of factors, and several elements of life in the world at large can work together to contribute to mental health. A person coping with mental health difficulties will usually need to make changes to their lifestyle to facilitate wellness. Such changes might include reducing alcohol intake, sleeping more, and eating a balanced, nutritious diet. People may need to take time away from work or resolve issues with personal relationships that may be causing damage to their mental health. So I want to get a little personal and ask,
what are you doing actively to maintain your mental health? Or what are you doing to maintain it and take care of your mental health and improve it? So maintain and improve.
For
I know you
me,
said you're meditating, though.
yes, I'm big on meditating and prayer. For me, like I said, I will be honest, it's definitely evolved over being more unapologetically like conscious of it. And then what I mean by that is, again, going back to breaking stigmas, whether it's for a man to be emotionally and spiritually grounded within themselves, within a marriage, a relationship, and having a conversation about it. And I think those things have evolved. So, like for me, has been having those uncomfortable conversations, allowing myself the space to do that. And for those of you who are kind of like maybe in that wavelength, will understand what that's like, because we can talk to people all day long, but we're not conscious of like, let me listen to you and offer you just my insight versus my advice, keywords. And so for me personally, it has been really giving myself my time to process what my spirituality, my relationship with God is like, taking that into what I feel is in my control and what's his wheel, if that makes sense, like where he's allowing me the space to like row and where he's just rowing me to. And so for me personally, it's just really being conscious of that, even if it means being assertive. And it's definitely easier said than done, of breaking cycles, even with family. So for me right now, that it has been as painful as it has been to get there, I've seen the other side of it, of being like, this is what I kind of need to do. Whether, there's a saying for me that I always say, a door might not always be, when a door closes, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not open to you. It's just maybe just not that time, or not at all. And just not putting so much emphasis on when it's going to open and if it's meant to open, but just letting it run its course. Because we're so quick to being discouraged when a door is not for us, and maybe it's just not that time. And then later and like for me, again, I think for me, spiritual has been, my relationship with God has been just very conscious of like what that looks like for me, and that's kind of like been the lift off for a lot of other things.
That's powerful. Good. I would definitely have to piggyback on what Mel just said. It's my relationship with the Lord, and also making sure that I stay focused in learning. You know what I'm saying? The drive that I keep for learning, I get to learn new things often, as far as like different ways to keep my body in shape, dieting. My relationship with the Lord keeps my spark for that. And making sure I spend time to have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like really enjoy life, that healthy balance of the trifecta, having fun and then making sure that I'm keeping up my relationship with the Lord and making sure that my body's okay.
Yes.
All these things are extremely important. But yeah, that's that.
You want to go, Jim, or you want me to go?
you can go ahead.
Um, I have battled with mental health issues for at least a decade now, and I am in therapy for it weekly. Uh, Sometimes emergency sessions are needed. Sometimes separation from this app. Sometimes separation from my friends. Sometimes, oddly enough, separation from myself is needed.
Mhm.
Um, just recently, I realized that um, my relationship, my religious relationship, and my spirituality have always been a conflict for me because I lost my mother very young. And I was always told that the dumbest question is the one you don't ask. And then they turned around and they told me not to question God. And that has put me, or did put me, in a very, very vulnerable and uneducated space. And I fought demons by drinking. I fought demons with physical gratification. And I fought demons from smoking marijuana.
Mhm.
And it took me to have my second child and love myself a lot more and understand that just the way that I am battling things, that other people have their own things going on, to understand how important grounding yourself is. I had to take time off from work. I had to take a stress leave. I had a mental breakdown 2 years ago. And I had to basically restart my mindset from everything that I thought I knew both about the world and myself, and really go back and understand the power of your mind, my mind, and the powers that I possess to motivate and encourage myself. And stop having this false sense of heroism where I could fix myself and the world, and it was just an unfair place and I had to deal with it. So, I am again actively in therapy. I journal. I have post-it notes all over the mirror that is behind this phone, just reminding myself to give myself more grace, to be more patient with myself, to be more patient with my kids, to watch the way that I talk about myself, to not be so quick to talk about others because I don't know what they're going through. Just like when I walk into a supermarket, they don't know where I'm coming from or how I woke up or who woke me up or even how I fell asleep.
Mhm.
And that is very, very, very important. I had to forgive myself because I blamed myself for a lot of things that had nothing to do with me. So, let me be the inspiration and the advocate to remind you that you do not have to be enough for nobody else but yourself.
Mhm.
And this can go for children, this can go for parents, this can go for your job. Get another one because
Mhm.
I'm on a lunch break and at a doctor's appointment from about several jobs right now. Say no. Say no every single time. If it don't fit you, if it doesn't sit well with your heart, if you got to question it for whatever reason, for whatever length, time, space, there's always another way.
So for me, I too actually am in therapy. I have been in therapy for a few years, on and off. You know, I did move and such, so I had a bit of a break there. But that is something I definitely am a big advocate for. There is nothing wrong. It does not mean you are mentally ill and none of those things, but everyone needs somebody who can just listen and listen unobjectively. Like you could just get it out, whatever it is that you're feeling, whether it's you know, my dog made me stub my toe, whatever it is that you're feeling, and not be judged for. I think that a lot of people would benefit from just having someone who they don't have to worry about telling that. You know what I'm saying? And I think, when we get into that, that's where a lot of people's issue are. They don't realize that sometimes a listening ear is a running mouth, and so it's okay to have someone to just talk to. And also for me, I haven't done this in a while, but something that I've been working on, that no word. That's something I actively am working on in therapy. I've started creating these boundaries. I lost a lot of friends along the way, or not so called friends, but a lot of people didn't really
Lost you along the
understand
way.
what the no word was coming from me. But I do a thing called no days. Everything is no. I don't want to. I ain't going to. I'm not going to. And I had to realize that that's okay for me to just have no days. Like, nope, not doing it. Nope, not doing it. I don't care what it is. If you're not bleeding or on fire, it's a no. And I think I need one of those days pretty soon, y'all. It's okay to take those days and just have time to yourself or with your family and just have, a vacation, a mental vacation. Um, I know even like just sometimes people take a mental day from work. Those things are needed. It is okay to say, I need a day.
I
Because
did.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you died tomorrow, that job will list your job in the newspaper the next day. And so
Hello.
you
Right.
are not replaceable. A job is replaceable. This app, it could end tomorrow. As much
Yes,
as
it
I
is.
love this app could be gone tomorrow, but I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be me. So,
Mhm.
I even take breaks off of here every once in a while. It might be a day or two, it might only be whatever, just a day. But it's okay to just take those no days and take a day to yourself. For me, that is a big thing for me. I am, as much as I am a social butterfly, I also need those quiet days where I just don't interact much with anybody. So that's for me what I do to actively maintain my mental health. Um,
Can I piggyback off of y'all's answer real quick?
sure.
To add to that, no is a complete sentence. Like
This.
you don't owe no explanation to nobody when your no is no. You know what I'm saying? And it does, and it's usually the hardest part is when it's somebody you love the most. No
Mhm.
means no. All right, y'all don't owe no explanation to nobody. Stand for yourself, set those boundaries, and keep that. Come on, man. The name's the name for a reason.
And it's such a small word, but it was always the hardest for me to say. And I think because I felt so. My mom, she in the comments somewhere, but she'll tell you, I've always been.
Dude,
We got one more minute, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I was Captain Save a Hoe, okay? I wanted to help everybody and love everybody and be everything for everybody, but I realized I can't. I cannot do it. I cannot be everything for everyone, but I have to be what I need to be for me. Because if I'm not good, I can't help nobody else either and be that loving,
right,
helping person if I'm not okay. So
right.
I had to really get comfortable with the no word. And it's not a shot against nobody when I say no. Setting healthy boundaries is not me being mean to nobody. It's me understanding what I need to be mentally sound so I can be that loving, kind person that all of you know and love. But I had to get really comfortable with that word and be okay with it. I still am learning because I still sometimes push my own boundaries when I know there's something I might not necessarily want to do, and I might do it because love is a big thing for me. When you love somebody, whether it's friend or family, you want to do everything you can do, but sometimes I have
Mhm.
to just say no. And
You
so
have
for
to.
me, that's the biggest thing for me is the no word.
The Bible teaches that too. To love yourself as you love your neighbor.
Mhm.
If you're not loving yourself, how could you possibly love your neighbor? You have to be able to put yourself first in every situation. Just like how you just said, if I'm not my best self, if we aren't our best selves, how can we possibly be asset to the people around us?
Hmm.
And when you're loving your neighbor, it does not mean to give people the pedestal to live according to your way. Your
Hmm.
way is not the right way. Give yourself some grace and some groundment. You are not right. You are not right, ma'am or sir. You know what I'm saying? So have the compassion that when you are being asked even an opinion, you don't get to tell someone that that opinion is
Right.
right. You go in there with the grace that you probably don't know it. You're just being asked an opinion and everyone has it. And just being very conscious of that. You are allowed to not even listen to our parents, our children. You are allowed to say no to all those things. And I think for me, that's been a share that was the biggest eye opener for myself is you've grown up being led by people that you feel that you're molded in your head should be guiding you in the right direction, and they might just not know, and that's okay. And being able to be like, you are not your way. I appreciate your opinion, but we're going to keep rolling with it. We might take it, we might not. And
Mhm.
don't hold people accountable to that. Your good intention in that falls all out the window, because then you're just living to for the approval of if your way is right or wrong
Mhm.
versus your intention of really wishing well. So just keep that in mind.
Yes. If y'all are just pulling up, you're late. We got one more question. That's it. That's it. But y'all, that's okay. You can find us here every Saturday at 10 p.m. We just discuss what comes to mind when you hear the words mental health. Then we discuss whether mental health is more or less important than physical health. Then we also talk about if you think society increases the likelihood of mental health problems and what do you do for yourself. But now I want to bring it all together, okay? Just like a recipe, y'all. People with conditions such as anxiety or depressive disorder may benefit from relaxation techniques, which include deep breathing, meditation, and mindfulness. Having a support network, remember that earlier? Whether via self help groups or close friends and family, can also be essential to recovery from mental illness or maintaining your mental health. So the question is,
The last question of the night is a three-part question. What do you think about what we discussed tonight? What actions as a community or what steps do you think should be taken to erase these stigmas around or surrounding mental health issues?
I love the Red Room Talk and a lot of vibes like this. I hold a platform similar to this, and I love it. And what I take from tonight, particularly, just seeing the comments, is like Queen was saying, being conscious that even how we're sharing things, something gets triggered within ourselves and each other. And, just seeing that like come to light, just kind of being like, that has been clearly been shown, like just speaking for myself, of being more opening. And also, like, as sad as, like, I don't want us all to go through troubles, but I'm happy that we're more open about it, like as a society, in this generation, because I realize I like to believe that it could save more lives or our stability, our mental stability, because we're talking about it. With that being said, moving forward, I think it's not so much as like, don't reach out to somebody when they're at their worst. I'm like, sometimes check on your tribe, check on your people. I'm being more conscious of taking even a second to not necessarily have to pick up the pieces for someone, but just being like, hey, I see you. Are you good? Even someone being asked that can make such a difference. Check on your people that are smiling and happy, not just the ones that are sad. And I think kind of like a gym, we maintain it, therapy, support groups, being all those things, like being a part, like it's kind of like a Pilates class, a Zumba class, and approaching it like that. So I think moving forward, I always try to open up or surround myself in those community and share that about what are those things, because even something is even being on this app and listening to like an open mic night, having a conversation about just throwing back on laughs, those can all be a contribution for yourself. Sometimes we don't want to talk about it, sometimes we want to laugh about it. Music for me is such a therapy. I'll put myself in a so just being conscious of that. So I think coming out of here is just really pulling myself to be part of like the maintainment of our mental health, not necessarily just running to a therapist, but other staples that contribute to that.
That's awesome. Something that I gained and learned from this is something that really just hit me, because as much as it is to say no, we have to appreciate and respect people's no's that we receive.
Mhm.
Like we can't be warranted to do these things and not be willing to accept somebody for the no that they give. So you know what I'm saying? Treat people how you want to be treated type. And then also too the power of transparency and being able to speak about the things you struggle with, especially as men. You know what I'm saying? We don't have a large platform to expose our weaknesses
Mhm.
because there's such a high demand for us to be strong. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And platforms like this, they allow us to do just that because it's very. I mean, well, besides the trolls, it's very unjudgmental place. So you can be like, I didn't even know he struggled with that. You know what I'm saying? And then hopefully that somebody with that kind heart could come and just speak life because it don't cost nothing. We could literally just like even as brothers, the guys in the chat, like we need to be, especially if you have the knowledge, we need to be an example of that. That we can really just sit down and just check on each other because it's okay not to be okay, but don't stay there. We can't stay in these places because of the demand of our strength to be leaders, and we don't
Mhm.
have enough of them. We do not have enough people to be leaders, and the people that call themselves leader, you have to question who are they being led by
Mhm.
because that's something that's not talked about either too. A lot of people say that they have these mentors and these leaders, but question exactly what that source is. You know what I'm saying? So I learned a lot from this, and I really do appreciate it.
I think that I know that tonight you guys have seen me looking at my phone a lot. My therapist sat in on this show tonight because we have a lot of conversation about who is aware of what I'm going through. And I tell him all the time, I feel uncomfortable laying my burdens down on my friends, knowing what they go through on a day to day basis, right? They are not equipped with the right tools, and some of them lack patience for their own trials. So to put my things on them to me is selfish. Um, and he had to go like 3 minutes ago. But what he did say is, I am proud of the work that you are doing, and I'm so happy to serve you because I can see you paying it forward. Tell the individuals in that live to keep doing what they're doing. And you are right, they are enough for themselves first, everybody else next. See you next Thursday.
Amen.
So I think that I love what we talked about tonight. I think that these things are needed. I think that, we get a lot of rah rah. We get wrapped up in the things that are going on with the news and all these people that are facing these charges, and we ignore the charges that are laid upon us. We are put here to be a blessing and learn the lessons and pass that stuff on to pay it all forward. And you never know just how big or how far, how are you doing, a thank you, and I love you, a keep going is going to impact a person. You don't know how much they hear it or how much they don't. And it takes absolutely nothing to be a good person. And I tell people all the time, I am a good person. I am not a nice person, because nice people do finish last. And you don't have to be good to be nice, and you don't have to be nice to be good. As a community, I think that we should start putting our phones down and putting our hearts up, because in school it is not okay for you to be smart. If you empathize with the person whose shoes are falling apart, then they look at you funny. Well, be fucking funny, because sometimes being a good person means standing out and not fitting the fuck in. um the very last part of this question: what actions as a community, or what steps do you think should be taken to erase the stigma? Be the change you want to see. Be the person that you need. Put a person in a position to be a you in your life.
Mm, mm, mm,
Because pulling a you on you don't always have to be a negative thing.
mm, mm.
If you change the way you think, the way you speak will follow, and the people you attract will get better.
You better preach, girl. Say that. Say that.
So I got a little emotional to hear you talk, and it's
Say
not because I'm sad necessarily, but I'm so grateful that you have that in your therapist. I do have a therapist. Lord help her.
Mhm.
but I had that like in someone who really was there for me. But not only that, but I sat and I think about, I'm looking at all of you guys in the box, and I feel bad because knowing we all have these things, right? We all have these things going on, each and every one of you in the box. And a lot of you in the comments have been that support system for me, whether you realize it or not. Um, Mel Bell, she sends these quotes to me on Instagram, and that might be like really small, and that's probably why I got emotional, because I just sit there and think like I am such an asshole. Like I have all these great people, and I go into Preach's live, and he'll just be like, Jen, you're so great, and I know this greatness is coming, and then I have Queen, who will send me a message and be like, you're so beautiful, and I'm just like, and I feel, and in a moment I felt, I had this like just moment lapse where I felt undeserving of that, and I'm like, why would you even feel like that? And then I have the Wanchos and the mistresses, and I wish I could literally name one of you in the comments, but I felt undeserving for a moment. And I'm like, this is exactly why we have these conversations, because it's those like insecure moments that can creep up on you, and you don't even think about it. But like I also felt the love here tonight too, because to see in the comments the people who interacted and actually commented, and I felt a little overwhelmed. Like that's why I have these conversations, because a lot of people feel alone in this, and to see all of you, why it hurts my heart. At the same time, it also overwhelmed me to see that that's why I do this show. This is exactly why, even though I struggle, y'all, this is why I talk about mental health. I struggle to do this very show sometimes. But to see all of you who probably felt not so alone tonight, to see other people who also deal with those same things, it really kind of struck me. And I think this is one of the steps, and why I did this show in the first place is for this very reason. One of the steps that we should take is to keep talking about it. Talk about it till it's blue in the face. Do not stop talking about it, because when you stop talking about things that matter, that's when you allow them to have what's the word I'm looking for? Power over you. So as long as we keep talking about it, society cannot ignore mental health issues as long as we keep bringing it to the forefront. Whether it's any platform, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, use your voice. Use your voice. And so that's what I think is the biggest thing, to keep talking about it. And earlier I kind of talked about, and I talked about this tattoo I have on my wrist. It's the semicolon project. And the point of it was, like when an author could end a story, he continues it with the semicolon when he could end it. It's much like people are in their mental health with their lives. When they chose to keep living. And I just kind of kept like looking at it. I had this for a reason, for people that I love. But I just kind of like was overwhelmed just to kind of see all of you here tonight. So if y'all are just pulling up, I don't even care if you're just pulling up, but whatever you caught tonight, you were meant to catch. But y'all, you guys can catch us every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just discuss what comes to your mind. I'm not even going to go through the whole thing, y'all. We talked about mental health. If you guys did not catch it, please make sure y'all check it on YouTube. Go follow the YouTube channel in my bio. But after tonight, I hope you all make an effort to allow the people in your life to feel comfortable enough to open up and have a safe space to talk. If you yourself need help or someone to talk to, not only is my inbox open, but you guys can find them suicide hotlines 24 hours a day. On my Instagram, I did list all those numbers. I would put them here, but I don't want to. I'm doing a featured show. But I also plugged the text line for the National Alliance of Mental Illness. I also did the line for the Veterans Crisis Line and the LGBTQ Suicide Prevention Hotline on my Instagram. If you click that icon on my profile, go follow that if you need. But I do wrap up the show with a quote to kind of come to this place of healing. So this week's quote, y'all. Some of the most comforting words in the universe are "me too." that moment when you find out that your struggle is also someone else's struggle, that you're not alone and that others have been down the same road, unknown. Y'all, this has been the Red Room Talk. I appreciate each and every one of y'all who pulled up tonight, who was in the comments, who sent a gift, who had a word to say. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Just take this as a note to make sure you reach out to even your happy friends, y'all. But of course, we have to come to a close. So if you guys could please reintroduce yourselves for the audience. And then, yeah.
Ladies first.
Yeah. I'm Mel Bell. I stream on another platform. But very much like being caught, like how important these conversations are to have. That's how I met Jen. Realized that she offers her time and space and having her own similar thing. Again, aligning yourself with what works for you. So thank you so much for having me. I stream on Meet Me usually. I love to come on this side, definitely to chime in again, to check in with people, and have always looked that way, being surrounded and meeting y'all. I've met Queen here several times, so it's always nice to interact with people, and it was very nice to meet you preach. Like I said, for me personally, when I did a show similar to this, it was literally to break the stigma of what like everyone's mind looks like, and I think Jen, you offering this space alone, even when you're not present here, even allowing other people to take over in the live, having us on your panel just kind of gives, it opens just the door for that conversation to be had. And so thank you.
That was beautiful. My name is Preach Positive. OQP stands for Only Quality People. I think I always want to shout you out, Jen. This is always an amazing time. And this one in particular is really dear to my heart because we need this. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us don't have it. And if we do have it, we don't have it enough. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to highlight to everyone who is still here, if you're not okay, please take steps to try to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Because tomorrow is not promised. And there's so much beauty in the life that we live. Like, please take those steps. And if you are okay, go make sure that you really are okay. There's a lot of the things that we battle with, we don't even know how to put a title or a name behind it. Just go verify that, you know what I'm saying, your mental stability, that yourself is literally okay. Because it's important. Each and every person that had that, the sound of my voice is extremely important when it comes to the growth of this world. We got to make sure we're okay. I appreciate you again, Jen.
I am Queen Essence, and I'm here every Saturday. I am also on the app for encouragement. Uh, one of the roles that I play in real life that I do not talk about a lot because I am going through my own mental thing is I am a motivational speaker. And one of my favorite gospel songs is Encourage Yourself. And I feel like if you can hear my voice, you need to go and listen to that song because you're not always going to get the gratification or the support you need from anywhere outside of your own mind, body, and soul. And I think that when you have the power to encourage yourself, you gain a different sense of strength, one that you don't have to share, one that is just for you. And we find ourselves sometimes being so strong for other people that we feel like we don't have it for ourselves. Mm. But if you have it to give to anyone else, then you have it to give to yourself. Mm. And I want people to understand that not only does it take no effort to smile, it costs you nothing to be kind. Be that to yourself, be that to somebody who hurt you, and it is okay to forgive people. Will you forget? Probably not. But the forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. Because we take accountability for the things that we shouldn't a lot of more times than not. Again, I do appreciate everyone for supporting the show. I appreciate Jen for allowing me to come and say my piece and give my vantage points and my perspective on these matters week and week and week after one another. I personally use that suicide crisis line, the helpline. Those people are there to just listen. And sometimes you don't even know that you need someone to listen. So if you feel like hearing your own voice is not enough and you can't be your own soundboard, please utilize the resources that we have.
Well, I appreciate y'all compliments and all that. See, and it's hard for me to take compliments, but I definitely I appreciate y'all so much for coming on the show. I handpicked you guys to be on the show for a very for tonight's reason. If you guys can't tell, you guys have a lot to say, and you guys are very valuable guests. I love having you on. I wish I could have you guys on every show, but. No, I seriously appreciate you guys for coming to the show and being a staple tonight. So I definitely appreciate that. But y'all, if you don't find me on Saturdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you guys can find me tomorrow night. We are coming back, y'all. Yes, we're back for Soul Food Sunday, y'all. If you need a little more soulful conversation, make sure y'all tap in tomorrow. We're going to talk about integrity and accountability. So make sure y'all tap in, hit that top bubble with the favorito like a burrito, not now, but right now, so you guys can tap in for that show. We do cook while we discuss, because it's not only food for your soul, but it's food for your bellies, but food for your soul. So make sure y'all tap in with that, and then tap in again on Tuesday. We probably will be having a special one where we have some snacks to try, y'all. The newest drinks and snacks on the market. So make sure y'all tap in for Wancho Snacks and Juice Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Also with that number one bubble. So make sure y'all tap in there. But yeah, normally I would say I'm gonna play a little ditty, but no ditty. So I'm just gonna play a little number, okay? Oh, get it? And a number. Anyways, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. That's but bumps. Yes. No ditty. I'll play a tuna. What up, son?